The months flew by at a breakneck speed. Tristan refused to admit it, but his young charge was growing. He wanted to ignore the fact, to close his eyes, but the unstoppable passage of time had already done its work. Ambre was going through a strange crisis. That evening, she was particularly angry and proclaimed vigorously,
I don't want to be a child anymore.
"How so?"
I want to become older.
"But you have plenty of time for this, Ambre."
But I want to grow faster. I could do more things.
The 30-year-old man sighed. He obviously did not know how to answer such assertions. He had never had a child, and he was not very good at placating others, regardless. Taken aback, he left the girl to pout in the living room while he went to take a long, relaxing shower. While he was soothing his worries in the rush of hot water, she was seething.
That's not fair. I wish I could be older right now. If I only had a model. I wonder what Tristan's wife looked like. For example, I'm sure that she was kind. But he never wants to talk about her. He avoids the subject. Maybe he's hiding something.
Intrigued, Ambre took advantage of his absence to open a drawer she had never touched before. My throat starts to hurt now. Inside was a big leather notebook. She was sure she had found a treasure, so she took it and opened it. It was a photo album. Spread on the pages were bright smiles and tender gestures. Let me see. Oh, okay. Browsing the pictures, the little girl discovered her guardian, young and fresh, in the arms of a coquettish young lady. Okay. Dressed soberly and tastefully, she was strolling along the seashore with a shawl on her shoulders. Another picture showed her in a park holding an ice cream. Wait, oh shit. But what caught her eye was a one specific picture that towered in the center of the page. Tristan, wearing a suit, was leading his lover out of a church with clumsy footsteps under a shower of flower petals. She looked so happy, so fulfilled in her big and refined white dress that Ambre was stupefied. Are they getting married? Even more so because the bride looked exactly like her. Yeah, they're getting married.
She's so pretty.
What are you looking at? Tristan's sudden appearance made her jump so quickly that she dropped the forbidden object. The 30-year-old man's gaze darkened immediately. You searched through the closet to see what my wife looked like, didn't you? She answered in a shaky voice, guiltily.
Yes. Are you going to scold me?
Of course not. I just would have preferred that you didn't see it.
Why? Why don't you ever tell me about her? I want to know.
He sighed, appearing upset as he looked into those begging eyes that he had never been able to resist for so long. Reluctantly, he sat down on the couch and told her how he had met the one he thought would be his lifelong partner and related all that they had gone through together. Ambre listened with wide-eyed attention. She liked the story very much. Tristan seemed to get younger as he evoked the past, describing how head over heels for her he had been and how happy she made him. Their peaceful and ordinary day life was something the little girl envied. Caught up in the tale, she couldn't help but pressure him.
And then? What happened?
Until the light shining in the man's green eyes brutally vanished. Then she got away.
Where to?
Far away to a place I can't reach anymore. Yep, she died, I think. Every day I pray that she'll somehow hear me, that she'll wake up, that she'll remember me. Or she's in a coma. I don't know. I don't know if she'll ever emerge from that dream that's keeping her captive. Yeah, I think she's in a coma.
Is she dead?
Sometimes it feels like it, but no, she's alive. Just in a different world from mine. If I could have joined her, I would have sacrificed everything for her. And today, she's forgotten me forever. Or her wife has an Alzheimer's, I don't know, dementia, that kind of stuff.
That's sad.
Tristan sighed again, head down, as a heavy, crushing silence came between them. Ambre stared at the photo, bewitched by the woman's smile. Deep down in her heart, she had an odd thought.
If I was older, I could replace Tristan's wife and he wouldn't be sad anymore.
Oh shit! Oh my god, something's going on here. I'm getting goosebumps. That night, she left a devastated Tristan lying as immobile as a statue on the sofa, sleeping between the covers of her cozy bed sheets. She felt helpless. If only I was older. The thought took root more violently in her mind to the point where it became an emergency. She had to become Tristan's Mollery's wife. Holy shit, no kid, you're just a kid. You don't think that kind of stuff, okay? A new routine seized the little Ambre. It was out of the questions for her to stay a little girl. She wanted to grow as prematurely as a butterfly, its beauty cursed by its ephemeral life. This game uses a vocabulary I don't know. Thus began a kind of adolescence. She no longer woke up in the morning when the 30-year-old went to work. She waited until midday to surface and took her meal at that time. Tristan did not call at his usual hour anymore. He knew that she would not be in a good mood. After a brief meal, the young girl watched television while leafing through magazines bought with her benefactor's pocket money. Her afternoon ranged between American TV shows and beauty tips. Between the pages of magazines, she learned how to seduce men. Oh my god, oh my god. She wanted Tristan to look at her from another angle in a different way. Kid, just don't. To be seen as a woman, she had to act as a woman. But she absolutely didn't know how to do this, because you're not supposed to do it yet, you know? These magazines, which were overflowing with tips of all kinds, appeared to be an El Dorado. Through the article, she learned how to act and how to be a true lady. It wasn't very complicated. She only had to keep a close watch on her gestures, to control her every movement perfectly as to convey the best image possible. She tracked down all human weaknesses, every inconvenience, and walked with a relaxed air and self-assurance designed not to frighten or crush. Ambre shook her head while she was reading the magazine's article. Of course, she had to be open and smiling, but not so much that she came across as exuberant. Exuberant? She had to laugh often, but not too loudly, and never in a hysterical manner. She had to be independent while taking initiative, but only if the situation was favorable and at the same time non-threatening. She had to show herself as to be as natural as possible while enhancing all her advantages with makeup. Ambre understood the necessity of buying some in order to be a true woman, and finally to dress in a manner feminine enough to enhance while being at the same time sober enough so as not to attract unwanted attention. God damn, this kid. And then she learned how to listen to men, and that talking too much was a sign of egotism and that she should be discreet while also present and available for when he really needed it without being too obvious. As she turned page after page, the young girl felt a pressing urge to spend all her money on the products shown in the advertisements and praised by the journalists. After all, she would need them in order to seduce Tristan. Girl, how could she have the slightest chance without cheating a little? Furthermore, a revealing psychological test claimed that Ambre would gain more affection acting like a fragile little girl. Men needed to be reassured of their virility and of their protector's role. Also, she was herself too vulnerable, too frail. She couldn't manage anything worthy without help. She had to find validation in his eyes, validation in her very existence.
If he thinks that I'm pretty, I'll be pretty, like on that photograph.
Like this, Ambre spent her afternoons reading tips, training herself, and concealing herself. Damn, girl. Like this, Ambre spent her afternoon reading tips. Yeah, when she wasn't catching soap operas, she was shopping in the city to buy clothes, accessories, and cosmetics. Is she growing up or something? The city, like the television, showed her visions of absolute and infinite love, of perfect and pure love. It was a drug, an obligation, a flawless pleasure, and an order. Every billboard sold the same dream. Oh, so cliché, so desirable. It followed after the fairy tale formula. They all live happily ever after with abundant wealth and many children. Think about children when you're like a kid, a 10-year-old kid. The heroines of romances and films all ran after the same goal, that of profit, ease, luxury, a life where everything was easy, but where everything had lost its taste. It was a dull life and a hollow one. It was an eternal masquerade. But this existential emptiness was easy to fill. One had only to consume and be consumed. One only needed to devote one's soul to removing every trace of nature to hide the grotesque, natural body, the body that was too personal, too imperfect, too real to be replaced with a mirage. One only needed to spend without restraint in order to conquer the piggy bank of one's dream, the machine that gave banknotes and weak orgasms in order, holy shit, to make oneself into a diamond, a beautiful, shiny trinket that everyone should have in one's living room, destroying one's own material value and replacing it with the coin of the realm. And the one basks in idleness, turning around in one's cage, without purpose to continue living with dignity, wandering like a lost soul, disguised as a clown with too much red paint on the face. The result? A grim robot. This game has so many figurative speech. One is to feel the lack, the absence of life, the disease that devours one's blood and all one's authenticity with money, always more money. While I'm talking to Queen Devious on like the Discord app, this is how we talk. It's too serious, like we use so many figurative speech, like what is life, something like that. Bye, 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 until one forgets discomfort and one's sense of ill-being. Ambre admired today's celebrities, those picture-perfect idols whose bodies exuded not even the slightest trace of life, and whose uninspired songs only glorified a permanent state of pleasure, pleasure without work. Like massively produced Barbie dolls, clones by dozens, such celebrities merge into a single canon of unsurpassed beauty deemed absolute truth. The stars dive into the endless cycle of vanity. With such ease, it was truly fascinating. Every minute that passed after a singer's first success was a minute of intense scrutiny, as the whole world glued its eyes on the morbid show that was her slow suffocation and imminent drowning. Nothing could bring more exquisite pleasure, nor be a prettier sight than that of young women slowly being engulfed by the shadowy tentacles of their dreams. They sacrificed their bodies to the cuts of plastic surgery scalpels to the point where they no longer resemble themselves anymore. That's true. To the point where they transformed into some kind of wonderful monsters. They had rejected their personalities and histories to blend with the world, to conform themselves to the public's every expectation, to become the shop windows of modern times and the faces of a single form of happiness advertised at every street corner. Happiness that our little Ambre longingly gazed upon on. While becoming a star seemed out of reach, looking like one was a duty that the tabloids never ceased to remind her of. That frivolous media with so little fuss and so many consequences. When Tristan Mallard came home at the end of his working days, he would find Ambre already taking care of him by trying to cook delicious meals. The ever so elegant Ambre craved to always show her best, becoming the perfect little strong-willed housewife.